Hey, my name is Smart. I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those you want to call me, you can. This will be my update for my No Pan Left Behind project pan. This is something that I'm doing all year for the year of 2024, where I try to use every single pan of eyeshadow in my entire collection, at least in my palettes, at least once. And every month I rotate which palettes I'm using, and I try my best to use everything, but if I don't use every single pan of eyeshadow in that palette, I'm just moving on. I'm not going to keep rolling everything over. I will say a little bit of a spoiler. So far, I have been able to hit my goal on using every pan in each of the palettes that I selected for each month so far. So March was yet again a success, but we kind of barely made it. In fact, I'm filming this on April 1st and I'm wearing the last look of all of my palettes. I will just get into it, and you probably already know how everything works. I talk about the palettes that I had in for the past month, and then I'll introduce the palettes that I'll be working on for April. I will also leave the project playlist in the description box below in case you haven't seen these videos and you want to catch up. You can check that out. And I probably will be swatching as well, so I do have my little washcloth for wiping off swatches. The first palette that I'll talk about is the easiest one, and that's my Kaleido Sashimi City palette. I love this one so much. As I said last time, this only takes me one use to use every single pan of eyeshadow in here. This is the 6 pan, because I do the same look every time I use this, and it uses every single shadow in the palette. I think I just said the same thing twice. But here is what the eyeshadow palette looks like, and I will swatch the shimmers because they're so pretty. I don't remember if I swatched them last time, but here they are. They're so beautiful. I also like redecorated my room, so my light source is at a different angle, so I'm still trying to like figure things out. I should probably swatch on this hand. But it's so beautiful, and I will post a picture of the look that I did with this on the screen. But yeah, I'm just so in love with this palette, and if I wasn't working on like a dozen other eyeshadows at the moment, then I would keep using this palette because it's such a beautiful palette for spring. But I'm sure I will pull this out at some point later in the year because I love it so much. And as always, I got so many compliments when I was wearing this, and I love it so much. Sorry, I don't think you can get any more. I'm kind of being a tease right now. Next is my Marvelous Mauves palette from Dose of Colors, and this is yet again another palette that I really love. Again, it's a smaller palette, and I think it only took me 2 uses to use every shade in this palette. I don't exactly remember, but again, I'll put the looks on the screen. And yeah, this is so pretty. I love the different tones in this palette, and again, I think it's a beautiful palette for spring. I had this with me when I went out of town for 2 weeks, and I just really loved the simple looks that I was able to do with this and the other shadows that I brought with me, and I'm so glad that I have this palette. But yeah, just another really quick one. Didn't take me too much effort to use that palette. Next, I'll talk about my Sephora Blues Beauty. I'm not really going to talk about this at length because you know this, you've seen this. I still don't have pan on this shade, so unfortunately I was unable to meet my unofficial goal that I had in mind when I rolled this in. But I did roll this into another project, I think a deck of panning, so this will be in to hit pan, so eventually you will see a pan in this. But for this project, I was so easily able to hit my goal on this using every shade in this at least once. I used this shade while I was out of town pretty much every day that I was there because this was the only lid setting shade that I had. So I ended up using this about 15 times, I would say. And then I also used this shade about 10 times just because I was trying to hit pan on it. But everything else I used and I loved. The shimmer in here isn't like super shimmery. It's still really pretty and I enjoy using it, but this is what it looks like. It's like nothing super impactful, but if you like a subtle wash of color, just like neutral, slightly, super slightly metallic, just a little something extra on your eye, this shade is really nice, and obviously it pairs super well with the rest of the palette, so I did enjoy using this and I'm gonna keep using it. Last, I'll talk about my Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette, and this is the palette that I have on my eyes right now. This is what the palette looks like. Again, I took this slippery shade out because I just knew I wasn't going to use it, and I didn't even want a chance growing mold in my palette. There are 17 shades in this after taking this one out, so that's why I only had 4 palettes in for March, because I did have like an extra large palette in for this month. And the 3 shades that I'm wearing right now are this one here, and then this one. So I'm wearing this like all over my eye, and then this one on my lid, and then this one in my inner corner, or like the inner part of my eyelid, and then my lower lash line. And then I have a shadow stick for my inner corner highlight. But I really loved using this palette, and I didn't record every single eye look that I did with this, because some days I did my makeup and then I just didn't even get a chance to like take a picture or like do anything with it, because I've literally been that busy where I don't even have a second to myself. So I didn't record every single look that I did with this palette, but again, I've loved using this. I love this palette so much. I think the only thing I would say is some of the mattes are slightly redundant. Like, you do have 3 dark purple mattes, and though they are all different, they kind of give you a similar vibe with the different looks that you do. Luckily, the different like shimmers and like metallics and all those different like special shades in the palette, they're all very different, and they all give you very different stunning looks. But I just think that we could have at least taken out like one of them at least and put in a different shade. But regardless, I still love this palette, and I'm so glad I have it in my collection. I'll swatch a few, even though I swatch this palette all the time. The one shade that I did have a lot of fun with this time was, so yesterday I didn't take a picture of this, but I put Juicy all over my eye, and then I put Provocative on my lid just really quick because I was trying to fly out the door, and I swatched them. Here's Juicy and here's Provocative. That's what it looks like when you like swirl the colors together. And this shade Provocative is so pretty. It's a pink toned neutral, but it also has, it's like a metallic that has sparkles throughout, and it looks like a special shade that you would find at like Terra Moons or some indie brand. It is so pretty, and it's just so smooth. And all of these shades, the mattes and the like non-matte shades, like metallic, shimmer, topper, everything, they're all so pigmented. You just need like the tiniest bit. And yeah, it's just so pretty. I think that was like this time around using this palette, because I've used this No Pan Left Behind before. This time around using this palette, I think this was the one that I had the most fun with, because it was just so easy, and it still made me look like I spent half an hour doing my eyeshadow. So I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just gonna move on and stop talking about the Naughty Nude palette, though I could keep talking about it all day. And I'll introduce the palettes that I'll be using in April. So the first one that I'll talk about, because it's the first one that I picked up, is my Dose of Colors Blushing Berries palette. And I have so many Dose of Colors palettes that I think I have, sorry, the garbage truck is coming to pick up the garbage, of course, but I have so many Dose of Colors palettes that I think I have at least one in every single month, or nearly every single month. So this one is the Blushing Berries, and I've only used this once before, even though I've had this since December 2021. And the one time that I did use it, I really liked it. I think I used this shade. I either used this one, or the two of them together. I don't remember honestly, but I really like the way the look came out, and The formula, of course, it's Dose of Colors. It's an amazing formula, and I'm really excited to use this one because I love berry tones in the spring. That's pretty much the only time I do wear berry tones. I'm also really excited to try this black because I want to see if it's decent or not. The black in the She's a 10 palette is amazing. It's like the best black I've ever tried. Then the black eyeshadow in the 9 Years Later palette, that one's not so great. So I'm hoping that because I love the formula in their 5 pans, just like I love the formula in the She's a 10 palette, that I will really like this black. And I already have a look that I'm planning to do with this black in specific, but I'm also just excited to get use on this palette in general and remind myself why I bought all of these palettes in the first place. Next is the one that I think I'm most excited about, and that's my Sigma Earthy palette. I love this palette so much. I love green eyeshadow. That is no secret at all. Like, if you've been watching me really at any point in my YouTube channel, you would know I love green eyeshadow. And this is like, even though it's not a monochromatic green eyeshadow palette, this is such a beautiful palette for greens. I'll swatch the greens in this palette. So the light is kind of making them look a bit similar, but this one on top is the shade Moss, which is this like brighter grass green. And then this one right next to it is Wild, and that's the one that's here. This is like a grungy green, and it's so pretty. Okay, this lighting, I'm gonna have to figure something out for this lighting because this is not working, but basically know that it's really beautiful. And I've used this palette No Pan Left Behind before, and I loved it, and I cannot wait to use it again. Especially this super dark brown here is really good quality, and it's perfect and opaque, and it's not patchy, so I can't wait to use this. And I'm planning on bringing this with me while I'm out of town, so I'm sure I'll meet my goal on this while I'm there. I just can't wait. The next one is my Milani Gilded Mini palette, and as you can see, well, first of all, it's dusty. That was gross if you just saw all the dust flying off of it. Second, it's so dusty because I've never used it. If you can see that I still have the like sticker on here. I bought this maybe like almost a year ago, and I still haven't used it. I bought this, let me actually open it now. I bought this when I found out that my e.l.f. quad in the I Love You Latte, the like all matte brown palette, when I had to declutter it, that's when I got this one because I had like a coupon and it was like new and shiny in the display. And I probably shouldn't have bought it because I have a bunch of all matte brown palettes from Dose of Colors, but I own it now and it's time for me to try it. Other than my e.l.f. palettes, I've decluttered all of my drugstore eyeshadow, which is why I'm like nervous about using this because I don't usually like drugstore eyeshadow formulas, but we're gonna see whether or not I like this. And I think this will be good to use this month to pair with my eyeshadow singles that I have from Terra Moons, ColourPop, and ABH, because those, like my eyeshadow singles, did not end up in really any projects this year other than my liquid shadows so far, so I don't want to neglect them, and I think this will be good to pair with those. Okay, I accidentally grabbed the wrong palette for my fourth palette, which was supposed to be my Sephora Dahlia palette. I accidentally grabbed my Disco Diva, which was just in this project last month, but it's the same layout as this, except this is from the Playlist palette, just like the Blues Beauty palette. The Dahlia palette, which, if you know, is my go-to travel palette, especially for spring, because it has like, I'll post a picture of it, but it has just like a really good variety of colors to use. But that one is from the I Love Bloom collection and not the Playlist collection. And the I Love Bloom collection was a completely cream to powder eyeshadow formula, so that obviously is going to swatch differently from this one, and personally it's my favorite eyeshadow formulas from Sephora. They really need to come back with their cream to powder shadows because they're so good. That is the other palette that I'm planning on bringing with me for my trip that I'm taking this month in April. So I'll have the Dahlia palette and then the Sigma Earthy palette, at least that's my plan. And then the last palette that I'll have for my April rotation of No Pan Left Behind is my ColourPop Big Poppy palette. And I thought April would be the perfect time to use this because, first of all, this is so pretty. Every time I pull this palette out, I just like have to stare at the packaging. But anyway, this is another all matte palette, and this is a monochromatic orange palette, but it's like earthy oranges. I think this is also another palette that I can pair with some eyeshadow singles because it is all matte. Actually 3 out of the 5 palettes I was gonna say for March for April are all matte, so I think in April will be getting a lot of use on my single shadows. But yeah, this is such a pretty palette. I actually used this in my my Peach Fuzz Get Ready With Me. I'll link that video in my description box as well. I tried doing like a monochromatic Peach Fuzz look for the Pantone color of the year, so I used this palette, and the shade that I used was Cali Love, which I'll swatch. This is what Cali Love looks like. I mean, it's just a really pretty peach color, so I'm excited to pull this out and get some use on it. I actually don't really have any orange shimmer eyeshadow singles. The only oranges that I have in my collection are in other palettes, but I think if I pair this with some like singles that I might not usually think of using this with, I'll come up with some really creative looks, and I think I'll have fun with it. And I'm really excited to use this for spring. I feel like all of my palettes that I have for now, I mean other than this one, but this is just like a super basic palette that I can really pair with anything, but other than that, all of my palettes, these and the Dahlia palette, are very much like spring tone, and I'm just excited to bring in the new season. Even though as far as makeup, spring is my least favorite season, I still do get excited for the chance to use different things. So that's all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being patient with me, but I will just have to see you in my next video. Happy spring and have a great day. Bye bye.